Well, for the second straight year, Apple is offering its customers in China discounts on its latest phones ahead of the Chinese New Year. The tech giant says it's giving customers 500 yuan, or $68.50, off the iPhone 16 Pro or the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and 40 yuan, or $50.80, off the iPhone 16 or iPhone 16 Plus. Now, this promotion, running from January 4th through January 7th, also offers discounts for the iPhone 14 and iPhone 15 models. Joining me now with more is Gil Luria. He's the head of technology research at DA Davidson. Gil, it's great to have you on the show this morning. And what is behind this move by Apple?
China is by far the most competitive handset market. And so for Apple to stay competitive, it has to sometimes match its top competitors there, especially until it has the artificial intelligence capabilities that can differentiate it from the pack. China used to be a much bigger market for Apple. It used to be a big growth driver. It hasn't been for several years. It's becoming smaller and smaller part of the business, but Apple can't just give up even with this very intense competition.
How does Apple's brand and product compare to the other handset makers in China?
So they're very competitive in terms of feature functionality. They leverage Android, but they go beyond that. And they have the home field advantage and the government tipping the scale in their favor in many cases. Really, all Apple has going for it in China is brand and prestige, in that they are still considered the global brand, the prestige brand. And that's what they're clinging to, which is why they've been reluctant to do promotions. And they really don't do promotions anywhere else in the world. But in China, to be competitive with products that have feature parity and sometimes even some feature advantage and the support of the government, sometimes they have to do these discounts.
I am curious, Gil, as to how tariffs factor into this. Of course, huge tariffs was one of President-elect Trump's campaign promises and historically have impacted China based on the last time he was in office.
Right. So this is something Apple needs to worry about. Last administration, the last Trump administration, CEO Tim Cook was able to very deftly navigate this and prevent Apple from being snagged into the tariff conflict between then President Trump and China. They're going to have to do that again. If this administration, if the upcoming administration takes a more combative approach in terms of tariffs with China over chips and other types of inputs coming back and forth, Apple is an easy target for China, and they may decide to bring it into the debate and to the conflict, which could have pretty negative consequences on Apple. Last time they were able to avoid that, they're going to have to navigate very carefully to avoid getting ensnared in this conflict this time as well.
What are the intelligence capabilities, Gil, that we could see from some of these Apple products in order for it to stay competitive?
Yeah, so a lot of these features are sneaking in through updates, summarizing your email, prioritizing your notifications, pre-populating messages and emails, allowing us to generate new types of images within our conversations, within our interactions. These are the types of Apple Intelligence features that are new and are very compelling. They just didn't come out all at once. They're trickling in. Apple is still working out the kinks, and that's just in the US. Once we get that all going here, it'll expand from there, eventually get to China. But for now, these features are still not even popular enough in the US to drive an upgrade cycle. It's hard to imagine that they'll drive an upgrade cycle anywhere else before they're fully integrated into the product set and consumers start getting excited about them.
Sticking with the theme of AI, Gil, I'd love to get your take here because we have seen AI momentum in some of these mega caps drive a lot of the market gains that we saw early in 2024. We've seen some market rotation of late, certainly some profit taking as well. As we start 2025, what is your outlook in the AI space, specifically when it comes to specific stocks?
So if you think about when AI really hit the mainstream and we started getting excited about, it was around the middle of 2023. it was really around two companies, NVIDIA and Microsoft. And those companies did very well for the subsequent 12 months. So until about the middle of 2024, those two stocks really carried most of the way because they were considered the only winners or the main winners. That rotation started happening over the summer into other types of infrastructure stocks that support the growth of AI. So other hyperscales like Amazon, especially Amazon, but also Google. Companies that are implementing AI well, like Meta, benefited from the rotation. But what we started seeing, and we think we're gonna see into the next year, is infrastructure software companies like Snowflake or Datadog, without whom you can't really deploy AI into the enterprise. Those companies will do well. What happens after that? Some application software companies may do well, but for this year, we're focused on the companies that make the software that makes it possible to leverage AI tools.
Gil, I do want to ask you about a rising U.S. dollar because many of the market experts across sectors, even general markets, have noted here a rising U.S. dollar and what sort of pressure that might put to the rally that we've seen over the course of this 2-year bull market. How does it impact the tech sector that you cover?
So the U.S. is winning, and it's winning big. China is still struggling. Europe has been struggling for decades, and things seem to be getting worse there, not better. So the U.S. is going to keep getting stronger, which also means a strong dollar. So tech companies that have big euro exposures, that will be a headwind in 2025. We have to factor for that. And the larger the tech company, the more European exposure they have. So with those Mag 6, again, that's Microsoft, that's Google. To some extent, that's Amazon. There is euro exposure there, and we have to be aware of it. In a constant currency, they may still do fine. And again, the U.S. should do well, but we have to be aware of that currency impact that we've had in the past and we may have in 2025.
Gil, we so appreciate you waking up early. I know you're based on the West Coast there. Always a pleasure, though, to get your insight. Gil's the head of technology research at D.A. Davidson. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy New Year.